Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Minor Wakefield. I work for PG&E, and I'm here to talk to you about PG&E's pursuit of operational excellence using SAP MII. I've worked for PG&E for roughly 8 years. I've served in many roles. Most recently, I'm a project manager with the IT Power Generation Group, supporting the power generation process. Grizel Castro-Rosario will also be presenting. She'll come up and talk a little bit about herself and a few other items in a few moments. What we'll be talking about today, quickly, is a little bit about PG&E. Who are we? What we do. We'll talk a little bit about PG&E's business, their objective to obtain operational excellence, some of the strategies they're going after. We'll talk about our IT's partnership with the business to achieve that operational excellence. We'll go into 2 pilot projects that we've implemented recently over the last few months, and we'll go into lessons learned, next steps, and then Q&A. PG&E is a utility company located out of San Francisco, California, providing power to most of Northern California. We have roughly $14 billion in revenue in 2011. We have roughly 5 million electric customers, 4 million gas customers. We're about 20,000 employees, 2,000 of which are IT, 18,000 employees, which we call the business. As an IT power generation project manager, we support power generation for Diablo Canyon's nuclear facility, their photovoltaic solar energy, the fossil energy, natural gas, and of course hydro. And although these have one objective in mind, to provide power, at the end of the day, the processes for managing each one of these facilities is very different and complicated. Our business, their strategy, 2 things I want to point out here is they want to expand or improve their reliability through operational excellence. And at the bottom, they want to improve their cost structure. They want to lower their expenses for maintaining their systems, maintaining their business processes through operation excellence. How does IT partner with the business to achieve these goals? One of the first things we did recently was establish a 5-year roadmap. What are our pain points? What are the issues we're experiencing? How can we address these items over the next 5 years? One major objective was to modernize our IT infrastructure. What can we do better? What can we pull in to improve our business process? What sort of platform can we enable or lay down to improve our long-term objectives? Provide the business with systems that are leverageable, that are common, that are multi-usable, systems that provide usability and eventually lead us to improved accessibility and mobility. We also want to work with the business from a strategic and partnership perspective. We laid out some objectives about our hiring new folks. We wanted to establish or hire a business architect, an individual on our team from the IT side that understood what the business was going through, that understood their business process, was interacting with them on a regular basis, understanding their priorities and their objectives. We wanted to establish a technology architect on our side, someone who really understood the infrastructure we have, the applications we have, and then in partnership with the business, how can we implement those processes in the existing tool set? We wanted to activate monthly meetings, governance meetings, communication meetings, so that we're a partner at the table discussing their problems. We didn't want to be an order taker. Oftentimes in the past, the business would experience a painful situation. They'd reach out to someone outside of PG&E, and at the end of that conversation, we get a request from the business saying, hey, implement this. When if we had the right people in place, if we had the right meetings, we could have been involved with that process and maybe improve the situation with existing technology, thus reducing our costs and our maintenance, etc. We wanted to establish an intake process. Instead of sending emails to individuals in IT expressing frustration, collecting incidents, collecting requests for enhancements, we wanted a standardized, centralized location where all these problems would go, where we could store them, and some of our experts and management from our side could analyze these, maybe take these problems, combine them into an overall project, or maybe recommend a business process change utilizing another tool, an existing tool to the business. Actually, I love this slide, and we've seen many different variations of it here at this conference. It really explains what PG&E is going through. It's a spaghetti. It's a mess. At the top, we have our facilities that are producing power. Some of these facilities are new, some of these facilities are very old. But operating these facilities requires interaction with multiple systems. My first thought looking at this was, hey, let's eliminate some of these systems. Is it possible to consolidate these? Is it possible to remove them? Hey, we've already done that. Many of these applications are best-of-breed applications. They're specialized. They can't be combined into another application. We need them. At the bottom, we have individual end users who interact with this information, with the information in these systems, producing decision-making reports in order to operate these facilities. You know, an example, we were working with a client, I was working with a client about a year ago. They would extract information from one system, dump it into Excel, then go to another system, extract data, dump it into the same Excel spreadsheet, repeat the process maybe 2, 3 more times, and at the end of the day, they have a full spreadsheet of data. They compile it, they'd work with it, they put a presentation layer on it, hand it to a director or manager to make a decision, hoping that nothing is wrong with it. Very complicated, very manual, and very ugly. Sometimes this process would take hours, other times it would take a week, maybe even more, to gather this information. Is it possible to streamline this? Is it possible to change this ugly spaghetti into something simpler? Can we improve our operational process of collecting information? I like this. This is much better, isn't it? Is it possible? The feedback from the business is, hey, prove it. A lot of the manual processes that they're spending time doing, they've been doing for years. It's what they do. They build organizations around collecting and assembling and presenting this information. Taking a step back, at PG&E, we have 2 silos of information. We have our enterprise network, where our ERP system is located. In this section here is the information used to maintain the facility. In this section over here, completely separate on a different network, separated for security reasons, compliance reasons, is the information or the application used to operate the facility. It's clear that the maintenance information and the operation information to maintain a facility, to operate a facility, is separate. Is it possible to integrate that information? Right now, it's not. Is it possible to analyze that data, to take the information stored in both of these systems, react to it automatically without analyzing it individually or collecting individually? And then finally, are we able to display it and visualize it fast, in real time? Enabling at the top, and achieving operational excellence, enabling management to respond to data instead of managing the process for data collecting and compiling and explaining why there are errors. We want them to react to the business, or to react to the information. For the 2 pilots that we've just implemented over the last couple months, we've proven it. We've proven that we're able to integrate information, have one source of information, utilize that information together, present it, and display it, enabling our business to make decisions. Why did we choose MII? Well, it integrates multiple systems, multiple databases. It comes with many pre-created automated databases that we just basically have to activate, our databases, interfaces that we can activate. It provides an application layer where if we have to, we can create something, we can centralize our customization. We can present the applications in a user-friendly manner. It allows us, again, to analyze and react or make decisions, develop rules to react to the data or the information stored in the systems. For our first pilot, we actually took on a problem located at one of our power generation facilities located in Humboldt Bay. It's roughly 6 hours away from San Francisco. They have a situation where they are required to collect the number of hours that an engine is actually in runtime mode, collect that information, and then manually load it into SAP. But before they can manually load it into SAP, they have to take the number of times that engine has come up and down, perform a calculation on both numbers, the runtime hours and the number of times it goes up and down, and then manually load it into SAP. The 2 systems are on separate networks. They don't interact. It's a manual process that's subject to risk. What if the individual is out for a while? 2 weeks, maybe. What if the individual makes a typo and enters the information wrong? What if his calculation is wrong? How will this impact the maintenance process? How will it affect the overall capability of the plant? How will it affect resources? So one of the things that, and let me go a little bit further into that, the individual would collect this information, calculate it, upload it to SAP. That would be the end of it. There would be no display unless that individual walked over to an operations manager and said, hey, we're getting close to a maintenance cycle. We've reached a number of hours, we've reached a threshold, our maintenance cycle is coming up in 1 week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Unless that individual goes to an operations manager, that information is not readily accessible. How can we display it so that an operation manager can see it quickly? How can we automate the interface so that we reduce risk and reduce the manual work? With MII, we established an interface as our pilot. We took one application on the ODN, or on the Operational Data Network, OSI PI, stores all the measurements for our, from our SCADA systems from our DCS. MII interfaced with that system and interfaced with SAP. Took that information, performed the calculation, loaded it up into SAP, created a measurement point, now we automated that. We created a dashboard that enabled the management or the staff to see every 3 seconds the number of hours that system has been running. We've displayed on one screen, first time at PG&E, operational information, maintenance information on an aggregated screen. I know that sounds simple, that sounds easy, but when you consider what we've been doing for years, when you consider the compliance requirements that we're having to live with, that is actually a big feat at PG&E. One of the things the business said is, can you do this? Prove it. We just proved it. We've integrated the ODN, we've integrated the UDN, and we displayed it on one screen. And you'll see a little bit more about that. With that, I'll go ahead and let Grizel demo that little piece.
Thank you, Minor. My name is Grizel Rosaro. I've been with PG&E for about 2.5 years now. It's I'm a developer by heart. I'm a .NET developer. So this slide will show you that in Humboldt Bay Generating Station, we do have this OSI PI system installed, but that one is only on the UDN network. And for this PI system to work, we have to expose that to our user data network, which is in a different layer, which has different securities tied to it. So what we did, there's a PI to PI connection that was built, and then we used Pico to actually integrate that with the SAP system that we have. So here for our SAP Enterprise system, we have the maintenance plan set up, for these various equipment records. There's the counter readings right now for fossil. They built some user desks to facilitate the ease of some operators using SAP, so they don't have to remember certain transaction codes. They just have to go to this user desk and they do all of their maintenance, pull their notifications directly from that user desk. So I'm going to walk you briefly through this screenshot. And this is actually the MII dashboard that we've built, and we've partnered with Fujitsu to come up with this MII solution. So here you can see all the 10 engines in Humboldt Bay. If it's color-coded, you know that the unit is online. If it is black and white, then that unit is offline and it's not running. Each unit also has running hours. That running hours is coming from OSI PI. It's real-time information. We do not store information in the MII database. That is directly being pulled straight from OSI PI. The next maintenance field right there on the top, those were the dates of when the next maintenance schedule is. That's being pulled from the orders or the scheduled calls on the maintenance plans. And then the output in kilowatt hours. What is the current output for that engine? On the lower hand of the screen, lower left side of the screen, you'll see all the active notifications written against all the units in Humboldt Bay. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a trending or a line graph that shows you what has been the output for this plant. You can go back, you can scroll, far back and see how it was been trending in the past. So I thought that was pretty neat. You see all information in one screen. It doesn't look like they're two separate applications. It's as if they're just one application. You don't have to log in one application to pull this information. And, and as any other company. It is a little bit hard, and that has been the challenge that I have seen working in PG&E, pulling separate information and putting them all at once always takes a lot of time. So here, I'm going to go down. If you click on one of the units earlier in the plant dashboard, you'll see the gauges here. There's about 6 gauges being displayed on the screen. Those are all PI tags being pulled real time. And on the right hand, you'll also see the trending. It's the same information in the previous screen, but this one is specific to the unit alone. And you'll also see the notifications, the maintenance schedules that are coming up for this particular unit. There is a link here which is in blue actually, but unfortunately I don't have the screen for it. And when you click on the notification number, it does an RFC call, or it runs a BAPI that actually takes you to an to an ECC screen. But that ECC screen, it's being run out of this MII web application. The interface is from ECC, but it's being directly called from the web application. And then at the bottom here, you'll see all the PI tags, and this is where we maintain the relationship between the measurement points and the PI information. So as Minor explained earlier, we're trying to do this condition-based maintenance. So based on a certain characteristic, in this particular example, it will be the running hours for the engine. It will trigger some maintenance plans, do some schedule orders, trigger some notifications against them. So here you will see the relationship between them. There's also another table which shows the equipment IDs and the PI tag information, and that basically just gives the relationship between PI and SAP. Move on. And these are the measuring points that I was talking to you about earlier. So this is the enterprise SAP system. You'll see here that in the maintenance plan alone, it cycles every 1,000 hours. If that measurement document is reaching at about close to the 1,000th of that of the hour, then it will generate PM orders. These PM orders will have associated operations against them, and then also, it's the same thing here. It's scheduled calls, which was being displayed in the dashboard earlier. So this is the last slide I'm going to talk to you about this MII application. You'll see here, you'll see the summary of all the 10 units in the plant. If you further drill down, you'll see more tags or more tags, PI tags, and being displayed in a gauge fashion. So I think the beauty of this application alone is we're able to integrate these two enterprise applications in one glance. I thought that was pretty remarkable to see them here. And not only that, but this application, it gives visibility to the executive team, to management, to show them that, hey, you don't have to make any phone calls to the plant. They're about 6 hours away from San Francisco, and you can see it here right at your fingertips. I don't know how long it will take for somebody to come up with this screen or even an Excel spreadsheet to pull all of this information together. I don't think it existed before we implemented this, and I'm sure it's just going to take them a longer time. So you can see some of the comments that we heard, positive comments from the plant manager for this Humboldt Bay, and we're looking forward to hopefully expand this to the other plants in the future. And yeah, and that's about it. And I'll turn it over to Minor.
Thanks, Grizel. So again, this is a pretty big deal for PG&E. You know, we've had years traditional work. Teams have been established to pull information from multiple systems to present leadership with decision-making material. Now, as part of a pilot, we've proven that it can be done and that we have the tools in place to eliminate business process, to simplify business process, and basically shrink the workload of our end users. Another example I want to talk to you about is the event reporting system. Our business has a process we call incident reporting. For every event that impacts the production of power at one of our generation facilities, we are required by regulation to document that incident. We are further required to take that incident and analyze it. What was the root cause? What are the tasks, what are the steps we can do to prevent that situation from occurring? In the past, for 12, 15 years, our business has utilized a SQL-based application that looks more like an Excel spreadsheet. Although it's not exactly like an Excel spreadsheet, it's basically just text fields where they enter information. And although it resolved a requirement for reporting, it didn't provide the business with any automated process or extraction or integration of other information that's out there. When the business came to us with this problem, our developers and some of our experts got together, and one of the first things they talked about was, hey, that sounds like a notification to me. And the developer went to work right away to try and create an SAP notification to manage this process. After some discussions, we discovered that, hey, that's not going to work. To developer, hey, I just want to code it, I want to fix it. We had others who thought, well, let's expand on the SQL database. Simple. Right around the same time, we started learning about SAP MII. We learned that MII has the interface capabilities we're looking for. It provided a workflow process we were looking for, and it provided an application layer. Instead of spending time customizing SAP notification, why not take the requirements and build it into MII? Create a simple application with a platform that will enable us to expand or integrate with other systems. For the first phase, we basically rebuilt that incident reporting application in MII called the event reporting system. And I'll walk through that a little bit in a minute. But again, this application provides workflow. It provides a user-friendly screen. It provides a better look and feel and some automated processes that improve how they're doing things. Recently, it was deployed into May. It's already gone out to the business. Very positive reaction. And something that's pretty exciting about it, too, is very quick and easy to implement. For our next phase is to implement an integration or an interface with SAP. We want to utilize information one time. We want to utilize master data in one system. We don't want to replicate it in both systems. We want to, if there's a reaction or an action task in the event reporting system, we want to be able to click a button and have it create a notification in the tool that the field is using to execute activities or manage their activities. This is a quick and easy screen that we developed. At the top, you can see create event. Here displayed below is the event header. Something that's interesting is that this master data, this is going into phase 2 that we're actually designing right now. You can see underneath generation type, that information is actually coming from SAP. Although it's not there yet, it's expected to be there in a couple months. So instead of basically, and before this application, they just had one field that said, hydro. Now we're enabling them to associate an event with a functional location structure, starting with hydro, going on down to the business area that it represents within hydro, down to the facility and actually the unit. And eventually, for the next phase, we'll have the equipment record. Being able to link an event to an equipment record is a big step for us. It allows us to capture the history of that equipment. It allows us to store the history and with the SAP interface. It allows us to store the history against the equipment as well. This is actually kind of exciting too. With MII, we've enabled the business to separate the factors associated with creating the event. The equipment factor and the human factor associated with that event. Each factor requires a separate analysis, requires a separate action plan, requires separate corrective action tasks to improve that situation. This section here, the action plan, that's actually new to them as well. Associated with each factor, we assign tasks. It might be go out and do an inspection. It might be research the make, model, and serial number to find out if there's more equipment like this out in the field that could cause an event. These action plan tasks are enabled with email capabilities. So when you assign an individual that task and you approve the event, it will actually send the end user or the assignee an email notification about that task. Again, it's a big step for us. Maybe for other people or other applications it was easy, but considering the complexity of our PG&E infrastructure, this is a big step. Also in the past, a supervisor managing the event would have to go out and tap someone's shoulder or send them an email and say, hey, you've got this task, go do it. Then they would have to wait or go approach that individual again and say, can you let me know when you're done? Have you finished it? What's the status? Now the individual can log into the system, update the status on his own. The supervisor doesn't have to go out and find somebody, doesn't have to chase someone down. They can find out if they've done the task or not. In addition to that, if that task assignment has gone beyond 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, an email will go out again to the individual who owns the task, as well as to the leadership or the management saying, you've got this outstanding task, you've got a compliance report that needs to be done, you've got this many days. At the bottom, a simple illustration of our search capabilities. There are lots of events. There are certain factors they need to research to be able to pull up that information. This enables people from the field to look up historical information about an event or even an individual task owner to find that information. We built in some automated reports, a raw data report illustrating to an end user, hey, these are the items assigned to you. We've got an aging report, anything that's past due, any events that haven't been approved for action yet, any tasks that are outstanding, etc. So for us, with our two pilots, we've proved to the business we can integrate systems. We've proved to the business that we can develop custom applications on a simplified application layer that allows us to integrate with other systems in the future. We're enabling the business to utilize their existing systems and display it on one system. Some of the lessons learned with implementing MII is choose a partner that can help you implement this type of solution. We've recently learned about MII. We didn't know about MII. Although we've been a SAP customer for 15 years, MII was new to us. We didn't have the experience or the expertise to implement the solution. We, for these two pilots, picked a partner that's been very flexible, that's been very knowledgeable, has known a lot about the application, and has quickly been able to not only learn our business processes, but adapt to our environment, which, being a regulated utility, can be complicated. Our partner actually is Fujitsu, and they've actually been a great partner for us. One of their resources works with us almost every day and is almost like an employee. So, another item, learn the best practices of other industries. When developing the event reporting system, we worked with the Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant, understanding their event reporting analysis. We worked with, through our partners even, to understand what the other industries are doing. How are they addressing their event reporting? How are they addressing their integration? The pilot, I think, was great for us. You know, one of the statements was, hey, prove it. Can you do this? For years, we've been exercising manual processes of collecting information, analyzing it, displaying it, and giving it to our business to make decisions. Through a pilot, we've taken information on OSI Pi, on the ODN, on the operational network. We've taken information on the enterprise network for the maintenance. We put that on one screen. Involve the business as early as possible. It is an integration project. It is complicated. There's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of processes we have to be sensitive to. Get them involved early. Keep them involved on a regular basis. Quick snapshot. We talked a little bit about this, but it's a simplified integration. The enterprise assets at the top, used for managing our operational assets. At the bottom, our plant systems, completely separate networks, using MII to integrate the systems to achieve these business processes. We talked about the dashboard. We talked about event reporting. And we have other groups that we're talking to right now to incorporate other business processes. What are our next steps? Well, we heard about how manual, we heard about how much time it took to generate a report, pulling information from multiple systems. Our objective is to continue on that integration path. Pull information from more systems. Use the native interface engines to get that information. Take these reports, provide it in a dashboard. We'll be enabling our management and our leadership to respond to data and not have to manage the people or the process for collecting and compiling the information. We'd like to simplify the work management process. You know, many of our users are not the most technical savvy people. They've been working in the field for 30 years. When they open up an SAP notification, they're just overwhelmed with the number of fields they can interact with the tabs and the screens and the clicks, where it takes them. How can we use the SAP MII engine to display only the information that's important to them? We've already achieved the ability to make it accessible. MII, or our solution, is actually displayed through a portal, which many of our end users call the SAP front end as an ugly battleship gray. They don't like working with it. I heard someone recently say, this is not your grandfather's SAP. You know, using MII, using the portal capabilities is making it a more user-friendly system. And lastly, we want to go mobile. We're building the platform, we're building the integration, we're building the capabilities. We've laid the foundation that is enabling us to go mobile. It's the first step before we can go mobile. We want to enable our end users to enter information anywhere, anytime. We want to get rid of the paper trail. We don't want them writing information manually on a piece of paper and then handing it to a clerk to enter in. That's subject to risk. Or even going back themselves and entering in. It's manual. It's subject to risk. We're currently talking to our asset management group where they have 30 spreadsheets where they manually go out in the field and collect information about their assets. And each spreadsheet is a program. It could be for the exciters, the turbines, the generators. Very manual process. If they want to develop a report that says, hey, this is the condition of all of our exciters, they can do that from one spreadsheet. Although it's manually collected, although it's laborious, although they're not utilizing information that's stored as part of their DCS or their OSI PI, they are able to do it. But if you ask them, hey, for this powerhouse that has a generator, has a turbine, has an exciter, I want to know the condition of all the assets for that facility. It's like you just knocked them on the head. Wow, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of time. With MII, we can do that. We can automate that process. We can bring it in. We could take advantage of existing data. We could develop rules for displaying them. We can provide them the slice and dice so they can look at it for all exciters, or they can look at it for a specific facility. And that's it. Any questions? We have Grizel, who's a developer, and she's actually coming to speed. Like she said, she was a .NET developer.
Actually, I was a .NET developer. I've been a .NET developer for a couple of years, and then last year there was an opportunity to go to do SAP solutions, so I'm pretty excited about that. So we've been partnering with Fujitsu, and they've been very helpful for us to kind of like guide us, gave us all the technical specifications of these applications, and then from there, you know, we build some skill sets, learning things on our own. They train us sometimes, you know, knowledge transfer and stuff. But no, MII is this is the pilot applications, and this is the first few applications that we've built using MII. There's no any other application that existed in PG&E recently that has been developed with MII, so it's pretty exciting.
You're showing big, really powerful use of some of the process data you're collecting through your storage. Do you have any programs in place that identify what those critical tags are and around that so that when it's being done or that there's visibility that that's being used those critical applications?
So we do have OSI PI as our data historian product. We store all of those KPIs. If you may call it like the min, max, those values. For the dashboard that we have built so far for HPGS, we have not incorporated those type of stuff. for the plant control systems, they use their SCADA information right now, or PI process book, OSI PI process book, to determine the min-max of some application and alert them with if there are thresholds that are not being met or anything going over the min or lower or higher than the max values. So hopefully in the future we will be able to utilize MII to display all of those information at once.
Right. I guess what I was really getting at is that your use of that OSI PI data in your display using the tags, and I saw some of your screens that has the OSI PI tag, you've got the SAP measurement point. If there's a change in the PI system or whatever speed in the PI system, that's going to effectively break things on the MII side. Are there any programs to identify that those are critical PI tags and to prevent somebody from doing maintenance on it that would cause that to break?
So the management of the OSI PI tags is another organization or another team. So we have a separate business process and organization that manages that. At this point, we do trust them to keep us in the loop. There is some risk to that. The business is also aware and working with those tags as well. I learned here that MII offers I think it was MII that offers an indexing tool for these OSI PI tags that will actually link, okay, 14 plan, that will actually link the OSI PI tag to an equipment record and provide you an index of OSI PI tag information with descriptions, equipment record links, etc. So that's something we can grow at. So right now we're trusting in the human process to not break it.
So the feature you're referring to is the plant information catalog. That's new and as part of the 14.0 release. As built into the catalog, there is an inactive flag, then the tag connection is severed, the tag is replaced or deprecated because the PLC was swapped out, or different metering systems were put in place. The catalog itself will actually indicate that the tag is no longer an active tag, completed with all the inactive references.
Nice. I meant to say that. Go ahead.
What was the timeline for your event reporting, the whole development of that, to where you're at now? I know you're not done.
So we started talking about it in 2012. In January, we started to get a little bit more serious about it. And then February and March, we started to take a deep dive and started really going after it. So it wasn't a full-time effort initially. We started in January and then got more committed as time went. And so we deployed in May. So
When did you really start committing? It was 2 to 3 months.
So we had our first meeting with the business actually to start collecting requirements in January. And then we had another deployment we were focused on for the end of January. So we really started, I would say, in February.
All events now are being reported.
Through it. Well, we're actually in the pilot phase. So our objective actually was to deploy to one group. And as soon as other lines of business got wind of it, the pilot has grown faster than what we wanted. So we anticipate with phase 2 that we'll go GA, that we'll release it to everybody. So we're probably 5 groups right now for the pilot. September. Yeah. And the second phase will include the SAP interface. Any other questions? Thanks everybody for coming.